Podcast with me, Oliver McBride. In this episode, I will be visiting Leenan harbour in Inishowen, County Donegal, where I spoke to members of the fishing community there. Fishing is an important part of coastal Ireland. It's an identity, it's family and it's community. Board Iascaigh Mhara and the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine can talk about it in terms of how many millions it's worth to the economy, but how much is it worth to rural communities. Another thing they don't talk about is the mental stress families from fishing communities face. They're often left wondering if family members are going to come home from a fishing trip. And as in most coastal communities, you could have 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 members of the same family fishing on the one boat. Families also worry if there will be enough fish caught to pay the bills or to feed themselves. Now on top of this, more and more pressure is coming from the EU to decommission the fleet because of a poor Brexit. The government talks about coastal Ireland and its tourism potential, talks about fish farming and the jobs it can create, but there are already jobs in fishing and there are potential to have more jobs in fishing. The fish are there, it's just the EU and the government blocks access to them for the Irish boats. All tourism does is kill communities like Leenan, and it doesn't grow anything, and it doesn't grow human dignity. I visited Leenan and Inishowen this week and spoke with members of the fishing community there. Leenan is proof that fishing can support a community. Generations have fished from this small remote harbour and have raised families in the area. The inshore boats at Leenan doesn't want a handout from the Brexit Adjustment Reserve Fund. They want more fish. They want to diversify to protect stocks. They want to fish predatory fish stocks, and they want to do it in their traditional way, which is sustainable and environmentally friendly. It is what is called artisanal fishing, and it's what NGOs, environmentalist groups and the EU wants. But they want to diversify their fishing in order that it doesn't damage crab stocks, which they're heavily reliant upon at the moment since the end of the salmon drift net fishing. A few options we talked about in Leenan was spur dogs, mackerel and herring, and it's clear that this is an appetite they have for change. One of the issues we discussed on spur dogs was the impact that it was having on young lobsters, crabs and other fish that are being heavily impacted was the recent explosion in spur dog numbers.
Instituting all that in the rules that are coming for banning the spur dogs, they're supposedly overseeing the scientific surveys, and it's on their advice that these stocks aren't opening up. Now, they're at the moment chatting, there'll be no spur dogs from in 21 or 22. Now, beyond that, I don't know what they're planning on doing or where they're planning on going with it, but the scientific advice that they're working on isn't what we're seeing in the water, and clearly nowhere near. So we've asked them when the last survey was done, how it was carried out, and who all was involved in it, and how they done the survey, and what time of year and all that crap, just know, because if you go out there in the wrong time of year, you're going to catch nothing, and you're going to think there is no dogs there. But if you're out in the right time of year, in the right spot, as any fisherman is able to do it, you're guaranteed, you're guaranteed to know where the dogs are, and are they?
Well, you are in the best position. You're out there all the time, so you know what's happening.
We've already offered up any boat in the harbour for doing surveys free of charge. That's how bad we want to get our fisheries back. Not alone the spur dogs, other fisheries as well, but our main concentration at the minute, and the one that we know for a fact is a massive abundance, not just on our own coast, but by chatting to other fishermen. As you know, power of Facebook now connects everybody in the world. As we chat to other fishermen around Europe, anglers as well included, we're chatting to them all. There's an abundance of spur dogs in Europe, and for some reason the scientific advice is still saying that the stocks aren't healthy enough yet for a viable fishery. But what everybody on the water is saying and what the scientists are saying are two different stories. So I don't know, there's a bit of a miscommunication or something not right in between.
How, like, to say spur dogs is either boom or bust, like, would you be satisfied with a sort of like a 3-year fishing plan and then a year fallow, or something like that?
We'd be satisfied with any kind of plan at all. We're not asking for us to go out there and start hauling in every spur dog in the place. We want to look after it. We don't want to go out there and decimate the spur dogs straight away. That makes no sense to us. Makes no sense to my young fella or any other these lads, young fella and future generations. We're fishermen. Fishermen had a bad reputation years ago of just overfishing and overfishing. But small coastal fishermen like us here, that's impossible to overfishing, because it's a seasonal fishery. You're not targeting the one species all the time. Once that species is gone, they're gone. They'll come back next year again. Fishermen now, I think maybe not. I don't say they're smarter, but they know more that if you look after a stock, it's going to be there every year. We're not looking to go out there and take in every spur dog out there and try and make a fortune. We just want a fishery out there, a sustainable fishery. Of course, it's a sustainable fishery, because we're not going to finish it this year. We've nothing left for next year. That doesn't make sense to nobody, and nobody knows that better than the fisherman nowadays. You know.
And into these stocks, pressure on stocks like crab, that you're constantly fishing.
The crab fisheries, as far in my opinion, it's a healthy fishery. There's plenty of crab around the coast. You go around all these wee bays, estuaries, and every inlet around the whole of Ireland, there's millions, if not billions, of small crab that size there. You know, a crab's a high reproduce rate. You know what I mean? They spawn a lot of young. I think it's up to 2 million or something they can spawn in a go. So the crab is under pressure to get market size crab, but that's all down to, I wouldn't say being overfished, but other parts of the fishing sector are taking in brown crab for wilt bait, and that's putting a wee bit of pressure on market size crab and taking in white crab. And I wouldn't be as bold to say small crab. I would hope not, but crab is not ready for market or anything like that. That's all taken in for wilt bait. That's well known in the industry that that's what they're doing. But the brown crab fishery around this place is as healthy. There's no better crab in the brown crab in the whole of Europe than what we have on our doorstep here. And we know it, and we look after it. If every port looked after the brown crab as well as every boat on this pier, not just one or two boats, if every boat looked after the brown crab like they do on this pier here, with their grading, throwing back the small and juvenile crabs, their white crab, and crab is not ready yet for market. The fishery looks after itself after that. It doesn't need to be managed. It doesn't need to be looking for quotas or doing this, that, or the other. That fishery looks after itself if the laws that are in place are followed. But see, the problem is, when you take in a new law, you're only, as I say, you're only affecting the man that's following the law. The lads that are doing the harm, you can take in as many laws as you want. It's not going to make a difference, because as far as they're concerned, that's just another law that we're not going to follow. And that is what's happening. So when you take in new laws onto any fishery, you're only affecting the people that abide by the law and are doing all that they're correct. You know what I mean? So it's enforcing the laws that are there more than trying to take in new laws. I think that the likes of the crab fishery and all that there, the likes of the brown crab used for wilt baits is massive. It's been a lot of pressure on the crab. It's not giving them much of a chance to get up to the numbers that we've seen here years ago, you know.
The government is putting the pressure on the crab. The government is putting the pressure on the crab because they're forcing us to fish crab. They won't let us fish anything else. So you can't blame the fisherman. The fisherman has to. That's all he can do. So what's he going to do? He has to fish crab.
Is there other fish that you could fish around here?
There is. We're seeing them there. We've pictures there. If anybody wants to come, they're swimming around the boat in slack tide. The dogs is just, they're 7-8 fathom thick. They're just abundance. And this is the season, this is the time. We done it. We all our generations before us, we done it and we learned the trade. And now they took it off us. And as we said earlier on, the mental health about the place isn't good. Because they put men under serious pressure with loans and boat and men. And there's men working with you and they're doing hard work on the deck. And when you're paying them a couple of euro on a Friday, you're nearly insulted to give it to them. What the poor man has to do in the pier to make it down, you're insulting him. If we had a lovely fishing crowd and do our dogs, every man's coming in, happy, the environment, mental health comes up, everybody's happy, everybody's making a wage, then we can go to our crab. And then when we've our dogs done, we're not going to fish the crab when you have the dogs. So it's going to save them. And then we can go to the crab then for a lovely 4 or 5 months. Because we're only wee inshore boats that'll look after itself, because the weather will force you to look after itself. We're not Because you take a picture of all them boats there. They're lovely, and they're inshore boats. So the weather will make them look after themselves, and the crab is a very sustainable source, and it will always be. And that's why we can still do it, because it's look after itself. But all we want to do is just give us another wee bit. You know, we're only young men here, and we've seen it in our lifetime. Now, we're not old men here by any stretch of imagination. We've all seen the fishing to stop. We fish salmon. We fish spur dogs. Now we can't do it. They just, no, you're not allowed. Like we weren't, not going to say we weren't smart enough to go to school, but we didn't, like, the joy of the sea was far more, and you could go out and you're along with your family, which money can't buy. But they don't want you doing it now. They just want you to stop, to fish crab, and the spur dogs there, the salmon there, and there's mackerel there. Maybe give us a wee bit more quota for herring, but maybe for sprat, maybe let us go offshore, maybe when there's good weather. Then we can go and maybe attack our haddock and our cod and our ling. Because we can't plan for nothing now. We can't go and invest 10 grand on haulers and nets, and you mightn't be using them. It'll be a house for the rats, that's all you're doing. But if we could do it, there's 4 or 5 boats there now with all polyvalent licenses. We could turn around and say, lads, we have a nice spell of weather coming up here. We'll all pull together, we'll all go out on numbers, which is safety. They're crying about safety. That's all you hear about safety. We could work together. The fishermen now want to work together. I think in my mind, that's what happened to the fishing industry. They wanted the wee man, the big man, this man. They picked us off wee bits at a bit. We'll fire the mackerel men, we'll fire them a heap of money, that'll keep them off the case. We'll give the inshore men, we'll fire them a few free potting licenses, that'll keep them quiet. So that's all we need, is just, it's not great, doesn't I don't think it takes much figuring out, to be honest. A couple of months of our spur dogs, a couple of months of our wee gill nets, and we can plan, but we can't plan because you wake up in the morning, you nearly have to check your phone to see are you allowed to go to fish today. There's a new rule taken up. So we can't plan anything, we can't do anything. You're living life, no worse than a rat in a sewer, one day after another.
How many families is dependent on the fishing around here?
Well, it's
30 full time.
There'll be 30 full-time men on this boat, on this harbour here, and a lot of us is family related.
There should be 100 men working after this pier.
There should be, but we can't.
Sustainably working after this pier. There should be 100 houses sustained after this pier in this industry. That was years ago. There used to be 20 boats here, 20, and every one of them had 4 or 5 of a crew on them, and that was all local people. That was people from the wee village over here, the town and Kilmany and all that. There was people employed from all over the sector. And when that money was coming into the industry, into this wee pier, it was being spent around the community as well. It wasn't leaving. It was spent on the community. Everything was thriving. Everybody had a wee share of the fishing. And it was a good share of the fishing. Back then, before rules and regulations, and other, fishing was a very good industry to be in. Now, the rules and regulations have made it harder. Some of them aren't good. We need, look, everything needs a bit of rules and regulations to have it well, sustainable now, as they would call it. But I think they've overdone it in the industry, so they have.
The main thing we want you to take away from here today and to point out is the main fishery we want looked at to get everything started is the spur dogs. And one of the main reasons for that is spur dogs as a predator. They are a predator for small lobster, small crab, small whiting, small mackerel. That's what they're a predator. So these predators are around the whole coast from here, England, whole way around Ireland, inside, especially inside the 12 mile, the whole way around. Inside the 12 mile around the whole coast, that's where most of your juvenile fish is. And these are a predator that are able to, we should be their predator, so we should be able to take a small percentage of these fish away. So really and truly, we're fishing crab, and these predators, they're attacking the young crab. So by us fishing the spur dogs, we're actually going to help other fisheries as well, especially the spur dogs. Spur dogs are one of the main ones. We know out there at the minute, spur dogs are the numbers are out of control. Now, we could take a small bit of these. We could take a small percentage of these fish. Even if we caught 5% of these fish, 5%. I would say we could 5%. Even you could even say 2%. That's how we want out of these fish. There's that much spur dogs from here, the whole way down the west coast, the whole way down the south. There's a teeming with spur dogs. They're a predator fish. The stocks are unbelievably healthy, and all we want is a small percentage. of spur dogs to start off with. If we could get something to get there put in place, and get a survey done to start off. We're in the minute we're at them. We're trying to get in contact with the Marine Institute to see where did they get their figures from, where did they get their scientific advice from, because the scientific advice that they have and paper at the minute and the legislation they have is totally wrong. The numbers is wrong, the advice they have is wrong, and we can guarantee that for 100%. So that has to be ratified. If we could get the scientific advice changed for the Marine Institute, that's what we need to do on spur dogs. That's the main thing we want to highlight today as spur dogs. Spur dogs could take all these wee peers back to life big time. It'll really help. There's 30 full-time men here. I could go up to 50 within. We could do a 3-4 year plan for them. No problem. Do it even based on one pier, based on one boat. We can start off with a 3-year plan. And as you say, whatever way they want to do it, if they want to do it for 3 years, they want to cut it off for a year, or if they want to do it for 2 months of the year, whatever way they want to do it, we can work with that there. But we need something.
We work with something.
Work
We
with
can't work
something.
with nothing.
We can't work with nothing. You know.
And
So-
you're not fishing big boats. You're not. These are what?
These are all
They're all
boats.
12 metre.
They're all small inshore boats.
Yeah.
Now we have a 12-metre boat now, and we're actually forced here to make payments for this boat here. We're forced to go 40-50 miles from here. That's where we have to go to get decent crab times. So crabs aren't working inside. We've nowhere else to go to. Once the crabs start switch off inside, we should just go and fish the spur dogs and all. You know, the slacks, soft weather. We can't do that. We have to go offshore. We have to go off another 20-30 mile. You know. So they might look like big boats in here, but they're only toys when you go on out. Like,
Speck out there.
only a speck, like so. But we've no choice. Like we want to keep. We have 6 full-time employees on that one boat, a 12-metre boat. We have 6 full-time employees in that boat. There's another 7 or 8 wee boats there, and they're all employed 4 or 5 full-time.
Well, when a place loses its fishing, it loses its identity.
Yeah.
It has a terrible depression.
Oh, it is.
It's depressing
You know,
about these local
it's-
piers as you come down the pier and your men's holding their head down.
Yeah.
They should be coming down and men should be. These piers here was, Jesus, there you come down a Sunday night or Monday morning with the salmon. It was, you were looking forward to go to it. For the crack and the gossip and every man was bouncing. But now it's just depression.
Yeah, and that depression spreads through to communities and to the young people and everybody
When
else.
we stopped the
That's what I'm
salmon
saying.
fishery here, all it left behind was out of all the old fishermen that just done salmon for the summertime. They were broken men. They give up. They give up on fishing. Once the salmon stopped, even though a few that were doing they were doing a bit of crab, a bit of lobster and that as well, they just give up. They lost heart in their government, they lost faith in their government. They just had no fight left in them. Rule after rule, since we joined Europe, just seemed to have battered the fishermen into the ground. And that last, once they stopped the salmon, that was it. That broke them. They've broken men all through our community over the head of them stopping the salmon. It put them on their knees. And
Only thing, Europe at the minute. Europe shouted at the top of their voice. They threw 6.1 billion they put in on the 8th of July to support inshore fisheries around the whole of Europe. So Europe want this artisanal small inshore fishing communities fishing. They want it. It's our government. It's not Europe. Europe are putting money into it. They want to see small ports like this here around the whole coast. That's what they want. 70% of the fleet is inshore in Ireland. 70% of Europe's fishing fleet is inshore. And if Europe hears a story about inshore fishing, that's what they want to promote. If you tell them a story about a bigger boat, they don't want to hear that.
You're talking about Europe wants artisanal fishing, and this is everything artisan.
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 It's called old-fashioned fishing. That's what it is.
Yeah, but everything about this, the way you are fishing is environmentally.
Oh, it's unbelievable. We went out today and we got, say, 900 kilo of crab. We probably threw back 800. It's usually 90%. We threw back 800 kilo of the crab. So we're throwing back nearly 50% of the crab we're getting. Now we get to get crab in like some boats and get paid for it, for bait and stuff. We let it back in the ground. We fish the same ground here, same crab ground here with 20 years. We can go every day to that crab ground and get a fishing. Every day we go out. There's crab released. We take in the good crab. We're feeding the crab. We're taking them all. We're letting the wee stuff go. We want to do the same with the spur dogs. We want to go out and take a percentage of the spur dogs. Same as the crab. We look after the fishery. We don't need somebody to come down and say we need to control the crab. We need to control the spur dogs. Give us a small quota. Fishermen will look after it.
But you're using like nets, pots, not damaging to the seabed, what they want.
No one whatsoever. It's the most sustainable, that's the most environmentally friendly fishing you can do. Even gill netting with a certain size mash, if we went to target spur dogs, we would probably use a 5-inch mash. So 99% of the fish we would catch would be well over adulthood. No juvenile fish. So we use a nice 5-inch mash to fish the spur dogs. We're probably letting through 50 or 60% of the fish anyway. The wee fish that need to get away. We're happy to do that. If we get a small fish alive, we'll let it go, the same as a crab. So we just want to land the prime fish and let the rest go. So it's totally sustainable. There's no damage to the environment. If we have damaged gear, if he's taken in, if he's disposed of, we get skips here, we put all the stuff away. Or damaged gears, the same, we take it in. Some of the lobster men will come in and they'll buy the lobster gear off us. It's all recycled, take it in. And here then we throw it in the skips, it's taken away. There's no garbage left behind us. You look around there, this place is like a holiday resort. We have the place spotless. There's no debris, there's no nothing. We keep this place as good as our own house. This is where we work here, this is our workplace. We want to do the same out there. We leave nothing behind us. It's the most sustainable, environmentally friendly fishing that there is. This small inshore fishing, without a doubt. And Europe knows that. That's why they're trying to promote it. That's why they're funding it. They're crying out. Everybody, there's money here. Promote the inshore sector, get more jobs, community. They love hearing it. The Spanish is great for it. The Spanish have a great inshore fleet and they're treated like royalty. You go to Spain, the fishermen are treated like royalty. They put out the red carpets for them. They come in the evening, the red carpet's out. You know, sometimes, to be honest with you, when we go fishing, we're kind of treated like, sometimes you feel like you're a criminal when you go to do something. You always think you're doing something wrong. You know what I mean? You're not. If you go to Spain, there's no way in the world they're going to get hounded. The Spanish and the French can land in Ireland, and they're not even hounded by our crowd. We land here. We're not so bad now. They don't hound us as much, but some of the trawler men and stuff like that there, but they're treated like royalty. We're kind of treated like criminals. You're doing something wrong. You know, if we did go and fish salmon, if we did go and fish spur dogs, we would be criminals. You know what I mean? And we know the fish is there. We're just not entitled to them.
Well, it seems like we're talking here now and listening to us with that the government is the problem, and Norway and Iceland and all these other countries, fishermen are held in high esteem. The fishing industry is held in high esteem.
Royalty.
And for some reason, this country, it doesn't matter.
No, we're classed as, I'll be honest with you, I think we're treated like second-class citizens. There's no other sector in Ireland. You can go farming, construction, anything. There's no other sector in Ireland that's had as hard as the fishing. No, anybody can name anything. You can name them all. They all get a fair shot. You know, they're not being discriminated. We're being discriminated. That's where we're being. Our hands is tied, like. You know what I mean? What they're actually doing to the fishing and inshore sector is plain and simple. They're herding all us, we're like sheep, and they're herding us all into the one field. That's what they're doing. That's crab. So you have a field here of crab, you have a field of spur dogs, you have a field of salmon. That's like a farmer having 3 fields and he's told, put all your cattle on there into that one field, you can't use them other 2 fields. If they did that there, the M50 would be blocked, and they'll block it for a month till they go back into the field, and they won't get back into the field. So what they're doing to us, they're herding us all into this field, we're all going in, catching the crab. It's bad for markets as well, because everybody's targeting crab, and then when the crab appear, then the markets is kind of flooded then, and then the price drops. Yeah. Instead of we should get a nice wee steady flow, keep the market good. No, it'll work out better, but I would describe it like that there. We're being headed into the one field to catch the crab.
Especially when you're looking into the other field.
You're looking over the field and you can see these fish in the slack tides matches. On slack tides, these dogs are that thick, and it's a long time since we've seen them that thick. They're swimming around the boat. And we're driving over the cab. We're probably bumping into them. There's that many of them. They're as thick as there's that. That's how thick they are. Like we're not even exaggerating. People might think, sure, they're exaggerating. It's unbelievable the amount of fish that's on the ground.
If anybody thinks we're exaggerating, please come. And we'll show them, and we'll enlighten them, and we'll return all the stocks into the sea alive until they realise the fisherman is actually a wee bit of truth here.